This is the Superpowered Mind podcast for inquiring individuals who are tired of the struggle for peace, happiness, and clarity. I'm Claire Diamond, ready to help you explore the principles of the mind, the self, and reality to unlock ultimate mental freedom. This podcast is the one to listen to if you're ready to experience the capabilities of the superpowered mind. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 25th episode of the Superpowered Mind podcast. And to celebrate 25, I thought we would look at maturity today, because the age 25 is the year when the frontal cortex reaches full maturity. And 25 is celebrated in many cultures as officially marking that move into adulthood. In Denmark, if you're not married when you're 25, you get sprinkled with cinnamon. Nothing to do with maturity, everything to do with spice merchants, apparently. But so for us, we're going to look at spiritual maturity, which, of course, happens throughout our life and is an ongoing invitation right up to moments before death. And what we're considering today is that the ego is really the child. The ego is the identity built out of everything that has been unquestioningly acquired. So it's a very naive space, really. It's whatever is believed is true. And whatever is believed from the ego point of view is all about separation. It's all about me, basically. And we see that in children, don't we? The sort of self-focused, self-centricness of the child, which is simultaneously wanting everything it thinks it needs to have, life or death, urgent, I have to have this, resisting vehemently anything that it doesn't want, and at the same time taking no responsibility for any of it. So lost in the midst of this seeking and resistance, and all the time fixed in this conviction of separation. There's me here and there's the world out there. And this me is the focus of everything, the narrative of me, the securing of me, the protecting of me, the defending of me, the me having everything that it desperately believes it has to have in order to be okay. That's the sole focus. That's the focus of the ego. So when we say someone has a big ego, really, we're not saying that they are stable and self-confident and really understand the powerfulness, the power of what they are. We're saying really that big ego is a big sense of fragility. It's insecurity. It's a foundation of peril that is running the show. And what's interesting, I think, for all of us to see is that egocentric child running the show might not be in all areas of our life. It might just be in certain areas where there is that believed sense of life or death around defending a fragile, fractured, separate idea of what we are. So, for example, we might be a very clear, sane, mature parent, but when it comes to work or earning money, because of what's been learned, because of vulnerability in that area, because of a fractured sense of worth and value, money and work might be really hard, full of obstacles, and an ongoing re-traumatizing, really, of that child self that's running the show, because it projects out these issues, it projects out rejection and indifference and challenge and shame and fear and need, and sees that as an external reality which confirms this fragile belief system. or there might be the ego child running the show all over the place. And it's really characterized by the mind so lost in its own projections, so lost in fighting a war that is raging within the psyche, within the subconscious. It's not going on in reality. It's a war of projection and then fighting that projection. And all the time it's characterized by a childlike sense of helplessness and hopelessness. I need someone to save me. This is not my responsibility. I can't find a way out of that. And when there is responsibility taken, it's taken from the perspective of acute selfing. This is all my fault. I'm such a failure. Why do I mess everything up all the time? Why can't I ever get anything right? It's just another way of stabilizing the identity, really, by putting all the attention on it, even though the narrative is of failure and hopelessness. So maturity, spiritual maturity, is seeing that in action, recognizing how in moments of deep stress, when it looks as though our survival is at stake, even though there is no physical danger whatsoever, the fear running through the body is as though we're in grave danger, or the shame is so intense. It's like this sort of burning feeling through the whole system, or the need is so desperate. These things are, when they're running the show, the stress is acute, and the defense system initiates this go-to space, which is something that we look at in our reset course. It's the go-to protective device. It's the pattern that is initiated whenever that stress comes in, and it might be escape or avoidance. It might be blocking people. It might be going into confrontation. It might be being ill or being exhausted or feeling overwhelmed, like we can't manage. But there's a way in which the whole system withdraws, really, protects itself. And the irony is that this withdrawal is only from the mind's own projections. It's not from what is actually happening out there, even though it looks so real. The way it's held, the meaning that it's given, the survival element at the heart of it is all a creation of the mind, a creation from the child past. And so the withdrawal, even though it might feel temporarily like a relief, is actually what is maintaining in place and exacerbating the belief system. Spiritual maturity is seeing that the stress response, which is accompanied by this narrative of separation, this conviction of me versus them, victim villain or villain victim, that stress response is saying, right now, the mind is engaged in fighting its own self, waging its own internal war. And the only sane response in this moment is to allow the feelings that war is producing, is to sit in the shame and sit in the need and the fear, the sense of lack, the sense of hopelessness, helplessness. Sit in it, see it in the body, feel it in the body, and at the same time, stay in the situation. So much of what we're told, as helpful advice is block that person, leave that job, don't do that if you're feeling as though they're confronting you. Avoid anything that is going to make you feel small or rejected. No, it's the opposite. It's really the opposite. Stay in these situations long enough with an attention that is open, that is really genuinely inquiring, what is actually true here? And only in that way does the current reality reveal itself to be not ever what was projected. It's just this. And without the meaning, without that high energy of survival and protection and division, it's just this. And when this incredibly powerful human mind is in that reality, specifying what is wanted here or specifying what the problem is to solve, the attention goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the relationships, into the work, into the money situation, into the friendships or the work project, and it sees what's real. While at the same time, because the attention is also in the body, so attention on reality means attention in the body and attention into what's going on around. That's a sane mind. Because there's attention in the body, there's the allowing of the feelings, nothing has to be used as a way to numb or distract or somehow escape from these feelings that we've been trying to avoid all our life. They're part of the reality. And the more in reality the mind is, the less involved it is in labeling the feelings. They're just sensations to be had. That's all. So because the feelings are being had, there is no need for the destructive behaviors of avoidance and numbing and distraction. The mind is entirely in reality. And it's a mind of absolute accountability. So whereas the child is all about having and resisting with zero responsibility, now the sane, spiritually mature mind is increasingly recognizing that the way everything appears is a function of perception here, a function of what is believed here. And that is a monumental shift. That is ultimate maturity, to recognize ultimate accountability for everything, impersonal accountability. And it's not from the perspective of the child, this is all my fault, why am I such a loser, I can't get anything right. It's from the perspective of a sane mind recognizing that the entire way self and other appear are constructs of a powerful mind engaged in creative narration. And this is the ultimate space of maturity, because it is simultaneously allowing the healing to happen within the body through allowing the sensations, recognizing them, integrating them, and taking the attention always into what is actually true here, from the perspective that it's being generated by that mind. It's so powerful. And this is available for all of us. And I think once anyone starts to have a insight about the nature of thoughts and reality and stress and behavior, free will, it's the start of a journey which leads to ultimate spiritual maturity. It can't go anywhere else. The logic of it is impossible to deny. And so that intelligent mind following the trail of logic through to what is actually true in this experience of existence is inevitably maturing spiritually. And there will be areas where it's harder, for sure. There will be areas where that child protection is claiming the situation, is dictating behavior and how things appear. And we know now that the stress in those moments, that intense focus on the self, the narrative that comes in, the strategizing of how to reclaim stability of ego, all of that is saying, no, there's healing here to be had. There is inquiry to be done. There's a deeper immersion in absolute accountability for the way all of this is appearing. And that is the ultimate destination once we embark on this conversation in every single aspect of our lives. And it is ultimate liberation. And it's a joyful path, even though the ego is confronted, even though there is no refuge really for the identity. All of the rewards that the identity used to claim are being taken away on this journey. It is ultimately a journey of immersion from a sane, powerful mind and a continually healing body deeper into a miraculous world of form. And it doesn't get better than that. That's what we're all seeking. We're all seeking that peace of, and true peace, which is opening up to every single experience, and true wholeness, which is the understanding ultimately of no separation being possible, and true love, which is the having of all of it unconditionally. It's what the ego is seeking, and it is only through its dissolution, which is really its integration, the integration of all past experiences in the subconscious throughout the body mind, that's realized. Yes, so 25, full maturity. There we go. Lots of love to you. Bye. Thank you for listening to Superpowered Mind with me, Claire Diamond. If you want extra support in the exploration of your mind, download our exclusive subliminal recording, especially for podcast listeners, on bit.ly/podcast subliminal.